Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to A Cow's Opinion. Today, Blizzard once again tries to set itself on fire by purposefully hurting its workers, and League of Legends says nobody puts us into a corner when someone tries to hold them hostage. This is A Cow's Opinion, where we go over the latest and greatest in gaming news and rants. I give you my opinion, and it doesn't matter if you like it or not. It's A Cow's Opinion. Take it like a moo point. It does not matter. First up is Blizzard, which seems to love being on this show on a weekly basis. It just is. And yes, you did not get a weekend show. My throat sucked. My throat is better, and you get a weekend show now. But moving on to Blizzard, a story has been run about a very controversial assessment policy that Activision Blizzard is apparently implementing right now. Now, it sounds more like just HR pillow talk, but really, it's a terrible system, and let's go over it. So, in 2021, Blizzard, unit of Activision Blizzard, implemented a process called stack ranking, in which employees are ranked on a bell curve, and managers must give low ratings to a certain percentage of staff, according to people familiar with the change who asked not to be named discussing a private matter. Managers were expected to give a poor developing status to roughly 5% of the employees on their teams, which would lower their profit-sharing bonus money and could hamper them from receiving raises or promotions in the near future. Now, the article on Kotaku is Mr. Luke, and Luke says, "You have to forgive him as he works in Australia, but what the actual not safe for work?" Now, he is actually correct. This is grading groups of people on a curve is a terribly lazy way to do it, first of all, because what if you have a bunch of legitimate rocket scientists in the room? 5% of them have to be rated poorly, but also, here's the problem. It's a quota, and you are literally taking people's money or future job prospects away from them because you have a quota. If I've got 20 massive superstars, why am I rating one of them as poor? It makes no sense. And of course, everyone on the internet is really, really upset. And in fact, one of these people, Mr. Brian Birmingham, who is a code lead developer on WoW Classic, got so mad that he emailed the following. When team leads asked why we had to do this, World of Warcraft directors explained that while they did not agree, the reasons given by executive leadership were that it was important to squeeze the bottommost performers as a way to make sure everybody continues to grow. This sort of policy encourages competition between employees, sabotage of one another's work, a desire for people to find low-performing teams that they can be the best-performing worker on, and ultimately erodes trust and destroys creativity. The manager went on to say he can't do this system because it's stupid, and of course it is. And he also points out that a lot of people have been told, first of all, they have to keep this a secret, which he's obviously not doing. But they'd also been managing to get around it in creative ways over the last couple of years. But now they are going to be enforcing it. He reportedly told staff he would be leaving the company if the policy was not reversed, but shortly after, he was called into HR and terminated. And now, of course, Kotaku wants them to contact people here because they're going to do another really good expose on it. And Brian Birmingham also has Twitter here. He's got a lengthy statement about the corporate leadership in general and the policy personally, and it is actually a really good read. So let's look at it. I wasn't intending to make this public, but apparently it's in the news already, so I'd like to at least set the record straight. We're going to give Brian a soapbox right now. I am no longer an employee of Blizzard Entertainment, though I would return if allowed to so that I could fight the stack ranking policy from the inside. I'm told the forced stack ranking policy is a directive that came from the ABK level above Mikey Arba. I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's true. Everyone at Blizzard I've spoken to about this, including my direct supervisors, has expressed disappointment on the policy. For those who don't know, ABK is the parent company formed when Activision Publishing expressed their interest in buying World of Warcraft from Vivendi. Blizzard's market value was enough that Activision Publishing could not buy it outright. Instead, they arranged to form a new company called Activision Blizzard, which would own Activision Publishing and Vivendi's game division, including Blizzard Entertainment. Vivendi had more than half the shares of Blizzard at the time. In creating Activision Blizzard, they needed an executive, and Bobby Kotick from Activision Publishing was selected as the new CEO of Activision Blizzard. Mike Morhaime, still president of Blizzard at that time, reported up to Bobby Kotick's staff at Activision Blizzard. Bobby and an investor group staged a hostile takeover, meaning that they bought up more than 50% of Activision Blizzard's shares. There's no actual violence in a hostile takeover, despite the name. I forget which year this happened, but it resulted in greater control. Activision Blizzard then acquired King, becoming Activision Blizzard King. Well, King is a mobile game company, if you guys don't know, or ABK. ABK is the parent company of three companies: Activision, Blizzard, and King. The first year we were asked to meet a specific quota of developing ratings was in the 2020 evaluations across the winter of 2021, spring of 2021. This was the first year they tried to unify the review appraisal systems across all three business units. Activision, Blizzard, and King all had similar appraisal processes by this point, and ABK wanted to unify them into one. That alone is not a bad thing. This is. Presumably, this was the motivation for enforcing a 5% developing ranking, to make it match in all three studios. I'm not defending, only explaining. We at Blizzard pushed back hard in 21, and I truly believe we have reversed the developing quota policy. When the sexual harassment lawsuit was revealed later that year, we saw some change following that as well, and it felt like we could make an impact on ABK policies. The realization that there's still a minimum quota for developing, despite our objectives and sternly worded letters, leads me to believe I was operating under an illusion. I hope Blizzard's positive culture can overcome ABK's poison, but it isn't succeeding in doing that yet. So having explained all that, I bear no ill will to my former colleagues at Blizzard Entertainment. The Blizzard I know and always wanted to work for is being torn apart by executives at ABK, and it makes me sad. I truly respect the developers I worked with at Blizzard. I will still play Blizzard games. The developers at Blizzard are still amazing. Dragonflight and Wrath of the Lich King Classic are gems. Dragon Riding is amazing in Dragonflight, as is the Ordor Raid and the new Titan Rune dungeons in Wrath of the Lich King. But ABK is a problematic parent company. They put us under pressure to deliver both expansions early. It is deeply unjust to follow that by depriving employees who worked hard on them on their fair share of profit. The ABK team should be ashamed of themselves. If it's Bobby Kotick, hell yes, that guy's scum. I must stress that the above is my best recollection of events. It covers a lot of years, and human memory is notoriously imperfect. I do believe the broad strokes are accurate. The developing quota is toxic, it is an ABK policy, and it's being forced on Blizzard. I can't tell you whether to boycott Blizzard games or not. How best to express your displeasure is up to you. As I said above, I won't boycott. But I can't participate in a policy that lets ABK steal money from deserving employees, and I can't be made to lie about it either. And I want to wrap it up again to clarify that I was surprised to see the Bloomberg article below. I did not provide them the email that they're quoting, but I believe the quotes are accurate. They have neither spoken to me nor reached out to me in any way. So, yeah. So, yeah. That is that. Look, I know that a lot of people are talking about stupid things at Microsoft, and Sony is arguing a bunch of stuff that about competition stuff that they and price raising that they do themselves. Other places have legitimate concerns about Activision being bought out, but honestly, at this point, this may be the only way to save this company from burning down, because it's garbage. We're going to move on to our other story. And in our other big update for today, hackers are holding League of Legends hostage. Yeah. So, unfortunately, somebody is looking to ransom Riot Games, the makers of League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, and some other really cool upcoming games, after managing to get the source code for both League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics, and the company's legacy anti-cheat platform. Now, Riot Games has said, hell no, we won't pay, as you probably should, because there's no guarantee that they won't release the stuff afterwards. For those of you who don't know, This is big news. The company's legacy anti-cheat platform is what keeps you honest in the game. So if they're releasing that, you can expect a lot more hackers and cheaters. But the source code of League of Legends and Teamfights are extremely valuable. Not only for just other companies to look at to see how they built things and reverse engineer their own versions of it, but you can hack into these games a lot easier with the source code. If you have the source code and their anti-cheat platform, you can make a decent skeleton key without as much effort as it usually takes. So they've paused all releases of content for both games as they try to fix the system. They're saying that they're going to fix it really quick, but pretty much, with the exception of a couple of hotfix patches, they moved everything to at least February 8th. Now, they are saying that they have not lost any player data or your personal data, so I would feel pretty secure because I feel like that's something they should be honest with. Now, the source code for each game had experimental features that the company was not ready to share. Prototype work with no guarantee for it. Basically, like champions or game modes or other kinds of stuff that maybe they were going to show up or maybe they were going to be altered or maybe they're not. But now it might be out there. And of course, Riot Games is worried about the possibility of new cheats. But since the attack, we've been working to assess its impact on anti-cheat and preparing to deploy fixes as quickly as possible if needed. They're working with their security team, they've got consultants, and of course they've got law enforcement because you don't get to hack a billion-dollar company and think you're going to just get away with it that easily. Now the company is going to give us a full report that details the attacker's techniques, where security controls failed, and what it's going to do to ensure this doesn't happen again. Look, basically, this is a big deal, and they want you to know that your stuff is safe with them. So they're going to be completely transparent, hopefully. I say hopefully because I can't guarantee it, but I don't feel... Riot Games is not Activision Blizzard, although they did have a lot of similar problems. But I feel like Riot Games actually has a chance to be a better company, and I don't think they're going to screw around on this. Now, the way they did this was social engineering hacks. They're like scams. It's less penetrating the hardware and more penetrating your employees. Don't think dirty thoughts on that. So instead of like having to use worms and other high-value viruses to tear through firewalls and slip into systems, social engineering is more like exploiting people. You send an email pretending to be a boss, like, hey, I forgot my password, can you send it in? You should never do that, by the way, because your boss would never ask you to send them entry into it. Or maybe they threaten employees by saying, we found what you do on this website. Give me access to this server or I'm going to send a message to your HR. Now, they are not saying exactly what happened. That's going to be the point where techniques and security control failures. But it's important to note that we also covered a similar thing when social engineering led to Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6 hack last year. So this is just a really interesting story that we're going to keep following. We will look at the report when it comes out, but really this is just a be careful. You know how like your bank always tells you never share your password in an email or a text because we will never ask you for it? Same thing with your work stuff. They're not going to ask you for work stuff over a text or an email. They're going to ask it to you in person. That stuff's too secure. Don't fall for it. Think twice before you send confidential information, you guys. And that is it. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Tell me if there were stories that you thought I should be covering that I missed. Let me know in the comments if you think that it's great that my throat is a lot better, because it is great that my throat is a lot better. And I will see you guys next time. Play more games. Games are awesome, and you deserve awesome.